This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call to order the City of Haslett City Council meeting, March 21st at 7:03 p.m. There is a quorum present in the chambers as Mayor Pro Tem Morrow, Councilmember Nahira, Councilmember Ricketts, and myself, Gary Halsey. Online, we have Councilmember Jessica Clark, and I do not see Councilmember Warren Robb. Okay, so Councilmember Warren Robb is not in attendance. Just as a note, I'm wearing the mask not because of disease or anything. It's I had facial surgery and just saves you the time to look at it, and it helps me keep it clean. All right, then let's go to item 2, invocation and pledge of allegiance. Father in heaven, we thank you for all the gifts that you've given us. We pray for Ukraine and the atrocities. We ask that your strong arm come in and stop Russia and Vladimir Putin. We ask that it be swift. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 is citizen participation and comments. Is there anyone that has, I know that we have several comments that are registered, the letters anyway. That's for a specific item coming later. Is anyone that would like to make any comments now? It can be on the agenda, not on the agenda. A comment, would you like to make any comments? Okay, have you sent in a letter or a card or anything of that sort? No, sir, I haven't. Oh, okay. So and your name, sir? Philip Scoville. Shannon, do you have Philip's name?
Yes, sir, I do. You're on the list for that agenda.
For a specific item? Okay, very good. All right, then, anyone else online? All right, there are none. All right, let's move on to item 4, community interest. Saturday, August the 9th is the Easter egg hunt beginning at 4 p.m. at Haslett Community Park. I know it's always a great time, so I encourage all of you to come if you can. It'd be a great event. We all enjoy it. Great for the kids and just the family as a whole. 4B is the general election voting dates, May 7th, 2022. Early voting dates and times, Legacy Learning Center at 501 Schoolhouse Road, Monday, April 25th through Friday, April 29th, 8 to 5 p.m. On Saturdays, April 30th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sunday, May 1st, is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday, May 2nd, and through Tuesday, May 3rd, is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Be sure to exercise your vote to right, your vote right to vote. There you go. Excuse me. I'm thinking about Ukraine and those poor people, what they're doing to stand up for their country. And just God bless America. All we got to do is go vote. All right, item 5, administrative reports. Are there any reports that any of the council would like any elaboration on? Councilmember Clark, anything from you?
No.
All right, then, thank you. All right, let's move on to item 6. Updates on activity items, projects, event recaps. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's going to be kind of short and sweet on the community park projects. We now have the budget finalized, and now I get to take that back to the park board and have them prioritize their list of what it is they want, and so we can move forward and bring back to y'all their recommendations. And then on our public works purchases, we did today receive our UTV finally. We got something. We're getting things delivered. We still have no for sure date on our mini excavator. Definitely don't have anything on our truck at the moment, but at least we got something. Something came in for a change. So at least we're moving in the right direction.
Excellent, very good. Well, we're happy for you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Item 7 is consent agenda. Council, are there any items on here that we'd like to be pulled? Have any questions about?
Mayor Halsey,
Councilmember Clark, I'm sorry. Just checking online. Okay. There are none, so I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Halsey, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion is made to accept the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I second.
It is seconded. I'll have a roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow,
Aye.
Councilmember Nahara,
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts,
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Robb being absent. Let's move to item 8. 8A, discuss, consider, and act regarding the 2020-2021 audit of City of Haslett financial statements. And our presenter is, excuse me, I have her name right here, is Susan LaFollette of LaFollette and Company. Marcy, there's Susan. I see you there. Hello, Susan. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
If you can get your mic maybe just a little bit closer.
okay, let's see. Let me turn it up. Okay, let me see if I can turn my volume up a little bit more. Okay, here we go. Volume. Okay, is this better? Can you hear me better now?
Susan, it is it's weak. We can hear you, but it is weak.
Okay, I will tell you there's a heck of a storm out there right now, so maybe my connection is bad.
Well, please go ahead.
Okay. Is somebody going to be doing the slides, or will I control that?
Yes, we have that. You just stay advanced and we'll go to the next slide.
All right. As said, I'm Susan LaFollette, representing LaFollette and Company, and we'll be discussing the 2021 annual financial report. So next slide. Our agenda tonight will be to discuss the objectives and scope of the audit, the financial report, highlights, overview of results, our required communications letter, management recommendations, and closing remarks. Next slide. Our objective was to conduct an audit in accordance with government auditing standards and to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We did do a full scope audit of your governmental activities, business type activities, component unit, and each major fund. Next slide. The bound financial report, this is a list of everything that contains. And in the table of contents on the first 2 pages is the independent auditor's report. Page 3 through 8 is management's discussion and analysis. Page 10 through 11 is the government-wide financial statements, which are on the full accrual basis. The fund financial statements are on pages 12 through 19. The notes to financial statements are on pages 20 to 45. You also have required supplementary information beginning on page 47 and other supplementary information beginning on page 55. Let's start with the government-wide financial statements, which are on, as I said, on the full accrual basis. At the end of the year, the net position of the city is $55,158,146. And overall, that net position did increase by $9,690,689, or 21%. 3.2 million of the increase is due to increase in charges for services. One of the things that we like to look at is the unrestricted net position, and that was $15,773,345. That unrestricted net position did increase by 6.1 million, or 63%. So that's a good positive sign. The financial statements at the fund level is probably what most people are used to looking at, and the general fund, again, will focus on the fund balances, and the unassigned portion is the portion that can be used to meet the city's ongoing obligations. At the end of the year, that was 7.8 million, which is up from last year's 6.7 million. That increase is about 1.1 million. This represents a very healthy 1.9 years of reserve in the general fund. Next slide. Some more highlights about the general fund. For fiscal year 21, the revenue was 7.6 million, up from last year's 5.5 million. And the increase, a large part of that was 1.3 million, or 49% increase in building permits from developers due to all the new activity that the city is experiencing. The general fund had an increase in fund balance of overall of 1.1 million. Next slide. Next, let's look at the water fund. And again, we'll look at the net position or fund balance. It's called net position in the water fund. And we're even more interested in the unrestricted portion because that can be used for the ongoing obligations of the fund. At the end of the year, that was 6.5 million versus 5 million last year. And there's about 22 months of reserves in there. So that's also very healthy. The total net position increased by 3.1 million, or 18%. And 1.6 million of the increase is due to an increase in charges for service. So, next slide. Our report, which is on page 1 and 2, is unmodified. It's a clean opinion, only standard language. There's nothing in there that's significant. So that's exactly what you'd want. Next slide. We did have 2 letters in the packet, and the first one is our required governance communication letter. There's only standard language in there, and you can feel free to read it. It's just basically communications that we like for the council to know. Also in that is attachment 1 and attachment 2. Those are our adjustments and past adjustments, and there weren't very many of these, so it was a very good sign. The city did a great job closing. Next slide. We did have a few recommendations. One is the EDC and CDC did go over budget, and that could be avoided if the budget would was monitored closely and amended. So we definitely recommend that you do that next year. This is definitely has an explanation of why you went over budget. It was for the capital outlays that are covered by bond money and other monies. So the best way to do is just to budget for those capital outlays. Also, the unbilled utility revenue was not booked, although it was not material this year. We just recommend taking a look at amounts that may be unbilled at the end of the year. Next slide. I did want to thank Marcy. She did a great job closing. As I said, we only had 5 adjustments and things were much improved from the prior year. There was a material weakness last year and that was removed this year as all issues were taken care of. So if there's anyone has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address those.
I appreciate it. It's a very good review. I read your entire report, and Marcy and I visited afterwards, and it was very good. I want to thank Marcy Lamb, and all of us should. She does a very good job. Council, do you have any questions on our audit?
I've got a question. Who monitors the EDC budgets now?
Mr. Thad Chambers. And let me, Marcy, would you like an opportunity to explain what that comment was about? As we discussed, it was more at, let's have some line items with regard to the expenditure and dedication of that money.
Yes, sir. Whenever we have bonds issued, we create new funds to account for the projects in those. So the EDC funds that we're normally used to seeing, which is Fund 3 for Type B and Fund 11 for Type A, those funds had expenditures budgeted in those, but we created 2 new funds, Fund 5 and Fund 10, to account for the capital expenditures that were related to the bond issues. And that's where the bulk of the expenditures that are being discussed were not budgeted. Although the intent was there by council and the Type A and B board action to definitely improve those bond issues and improve those projects, we just failed to make amendments to those 2 funds. And whenever you have a bond issue, you have certain expenditures related to that, the bond issuance costs. And so this was the first time the EDCs had ever issued debt, and it was just an oversight on my part to make sure after they were not originally budgeted that we got them in with the year-end amendments. So we'll be watching that in the future. Next time we issue bonds of any kind, even if they're not in the EDCs, we would ask as part of that approval for the bonds that we just go ahead and make the appropriations at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Clark, any questions for Susan, Marcy, or Thad?
No, not at this time.
Very good. Council, I will need a motion to accept the audit.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the audit as presented.
Motion is made to accept the audit as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. Roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow.
Aye.
Councilmember Nahara.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts. Aye. Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Councilmember Robb is absent.
Mayor Halsey, can I just say a few things?
Yes.
I just want to say thank you to Susan and her staff. It's always a pleasure dealing with them, and the last 2 years we've been virtual, and that has went smoothly last year, even though we had a really big audit last year because of the single audit. This year, I think things went very smoothly, and her staff is always a joy to work with. And Susan always provides really good sound advice when I have a question about anything, and we just really appreciate all their assistance.
Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You can't even see that my lips are moving, can you? All right. Susan, I was asking if you had any closing remarks.
No, I have no closing remarks. The audit, Marcy, you should have the final signed copies of everything that you can send out. And then we will, as discussed, we'll bind the 10 copies and have those Federal Express to you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize. Item 8B, discuss, consider, and act regarding the approval of an ordinance amending Appendix A, fee schedules, Article 7, development fees of the Haslett City Code of Ordinances. Presentation.
Yeah, Mayor Halsey and members of the council, this is an action requested by the state, and several departments actually had a part in it. The fire department, they wanted their fees adjusted a little bit, building inspections, and also engineering. And finally, there was one for planning, which was basically a way to recoup and to encourage more efficient engineering when we get submittals in from developers. And the way it does that is, and that's the biggest change in here, is it adds a $2,500 deposit. And as somebody, as in the engineering staff, what they'll use a lot of times is the staff to do all the review, and then you send it back for corrections, and then they send it right back. A lot of times they do not make improvements to those. A little feedback here, but anyway, it encourages them once they see some of these fees come in. And an example, we use this in a couple other cities that I work with, is that there was the application fee, which covers the administrative cost, but the engineering fees from the outside source ran up a bill of $10,000, and that was just because of inferior work, not turning in complete stuff. And this really encourages people to do a good job up front. And if they do a good job up front, they'll get most of that money back, and there'll only be one time through the engineering review, or maybe 2 times. But when you get to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 reviews, it ends up costing the citizenry, if you don't have a mechanism built into the ordinance. And that's pretty much the ordinance that's before you tonight.
And I can attest to that. The many repeats, and it's almost that they want us to do the design for them. That's not all of them, but it happens often. Any questions on the presentation?
Yes, ma'am. This is Councilman Rob. I apologize for I couldn't log on, and I'm with you now at 7:25. Sorry.
Okay, well, let's make a note, please, that Councilman Warren Robb is present at 7:27 p.m. And I'm sorry.
Yes, just a quick question. So these fees are just basically paying them up front, which they would have been charged anyway. Is that correct?
A lot of it is, it makes sure, sometimes, an applicant actually can withdraw an application. And if there's been time spent, then those fees cannot be recovered. And so this way they're recovered, and then they get the balance back.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
I had an additional question. I read through this, and item 8 talked about attached carports. What was the reasoning for changing it from based on value of work to the 60 cents per square foot?
I'm going to let Mr. Thedford address that.
So the attached carport, is that the question? So whenever we do a permit based on a residential property, we can't do it based on valuation. We have to do it on square footage. And does that answer your question? Okay.
If there's no other, okay, let's go to discussion. Any other questions or anything? I'll entertain a motion at your leisure.
Mayor Holsey,
Yes.
I move to approve the ordinance amending Appendix A fee schedule, Article 7, development fees of the Hazlet City Code of Ordinance.
Motion is made to approve the ordinance amending Appendix A fee schedule, Article 7, development fees of the Hazlet City Code of Ordinances. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. All right, roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow,
Aye.
Councilmember Nahira,
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts,
Aye.
Councilmember Clark,
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, council. 8C, discuss, consider, and act on resolution approving an interlocal agreement with the city of Fort Worth for suburban dispatching and station alerting. Chief Mays.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mayor Rob, we're talking about radios. I know it's his favorite topic. All right, there's the ILA is with Fort Worth for dispatching our fire and medical calls, and also for station alerting. We broke this down into 3 different components. One of them is the dispatching services. So again, Fort Worth Fire Alarm Office will become our dispatching center for all of our fire and medical calls, and that is at $35 per call. We budgeted in this year's budget $29,000 to cover those projected costs. The second component is the station alerting. This is what their communication center talks to a computer at our fire station, turns the lights on, the speakers so we can hear, and we're having to upgrade an 18-year-old system. This was an unbudgeted item. We knew that we were going to have to do this at some point, but they had told us that being a primary volunteer department, this system didn't work that way. So that's why we didn't budget it. And so as they've started dispatching for other municipalities, they've learned more about their system and they found a way to make it work. So now that's why we're coming forward to you for those alerting equipment, which was a little over $35,000. We've also got to reprogram our 49 radios to add the frequency in that they use to send the call out. So that's $6,000 one-time cost. And then there's a little over $4,200 in reoccurring costs for the technology, the internet that we have to provide to the computer, and just the oversight of the city of Fort Worth managing this system. So those total unbudgeted costs are $45,425.17. So the most important component is how are we going to pay for this? So we had budgeted $28,000 in capital this year for us to buy a heart monitor, which we bought and it's in service. But the mayor and Marcy and I determined that we could pay for this underneath the ARPA funding, which is the COVID money. So that $28,000 in capital is available for this project. We also had capital money to purchase 8 mobile computers that tie into the Fort Worth system, but we've determined we only need 6, and that saved us another $13,000 to be applied. And then same thing on the reoccurring costs for the technology to run the mobile computers. We have a $1,750 savings. So all that being said, the short and skinny is if we can get $2,412.35, we can make this project work. So I'll stop there and answer any questions.
I do want to point out, and Chief, you did a very good job, that there's annual reoccurring costs going through this system, and that's at the very bottom page. That's the note. So there will be, with regard to dispatching and technology and maintenance, that's a reoccurring cost, and that's $33,275.92. The deficit that they have, the funding that they need of $2,412.35, I propose that would come out of our contingency line item and transferred to the fire department budget line.
And help me out here, Thad.
Mayor, in that motion, if the, you would state to amend the budget, it would avoid that thing that we just dealt with the EDC. So to
Yes.
make that change, please.
Yes. If you would, amend the budget, identify the source from where the funds are coming, which would be the general fund contingency line item, and move it to the fire department budget.
So just to be clear, the budget we're amending is the project, no, not the project's annual recurring cost, but the budgeted project cost. I know we're transferring, but
We're gonna, I think the best way to say, we're gonna move it to the dispatch cost. So that's that, it's 017140-03. That's the fire dispatch budget line item. And I think that's where it's gonna be moved to.
Yes, yeah, very good.
I just have one last question. It's just more of what you just talked about is, Mayor Holsey, on the projected recurring cost. The recurring cost for this year is covered, and we'll address the recurring cost for next year in our budget sessions in the summer, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you a little. You say that again?
I said the recurring cost now is covered in this deficit, would be covered in this deficit, and we'll address the other recurring costs in our budget meetings for this summer.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
okay, I would like to make a motion to transfer $2,412.35 from the general fund contingency to the fire department dispatch line item 0171400300.
Motion is made to amend the budget by transferring $2,412.35 from the general fund contingency line item to the fire department line item 01-7140-03-00 dispatch. Is there a second?
Mayor Holsey, I'll second.
There is a second. Roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow.
Aye.
Councilmember Nahira.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Council.
Excuse me, Mayor, do we need to have a motion to approve the resolution and the interlocal agreement as well?
Say that again?
Do we need to have an additional motion to approve the resolution and the interlocal agreement?
Yes, we do. So that was a two-step process there. So now we can approve the interlocal agreement.
Mayor Holsey,
Yes.
I move to approve the resolution of the interlocal agreement within the City of Fort Worth Suburban Dispatching and Station Alerting.
The motion is made to approve the resolution approving an interlocal agreement with the City of Fort Worth for suburban dispatching and station alerting. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. Roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow.
Aye.
Councilmember Nahira.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Chief. 8D, discuss, consider, and act to amend the contract with Bonus Building Care to add cleaning and janitorial services for the City of Haslett Annex located at 1090 Schoolhouse Road. Thad.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The item before you is with Bonus Building Care. They take care of City Hall, the library, and the community center now. We were, of course, I moved back over here, but we were cleaning the building ourselves up until now. But the request is to amend that contract so that they will start taking care of the annex as well, so that staff can continue to focus on staff work and less on the janitorial. The cost would be $195 per month added to the existing contract of $540. I've talked to Marcy. Funds are available and will come from 01-7701-0800. I'll answer any questions you may have.
What line item is that specifically, the 0800?
I'm going to have to lean on Marcy if she's still online. Marcy, are you still there?
I'm still here. That is basically an account we called office rental in the general fund.
Did you hear that? Say that again, Marcy, please.
That is an account that we had in the budget this year called office rental in the general fund. It's in the fund department for Department 08 for all departments. Interdepartmental is what it's called, the department.
Interdepartmental office rental.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to amend the contract with Bonus Building Care to add cleaning and janitorial services in the amount of $195 per month to the City of Haslett Annex located at 1090 Schoolhouse Road.
Motion is made to amend the contract with Bonus Building Care to add cleaning and janitorial services for the City of Haslett Annex located at 1090 Schoolhouse Road for a total of $195 per month. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second.
There is a second. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow.
Before we vote, should I say what budget that's coming from?
Marcy, does that make sense? I think we need to continue to amend.
I believe Marcy said we already had it in that item.
Oh,
but Marcy, please clarify.
Yes, we don't need an amendment for that item.
Say it again.
We do not need an amendment for that item.
We do not need an amendment.
Right. Aye.
Councilmember Nahira.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Thank you, council. Motion passes 5-0. Item 8E, discuss, consider, and act regarding a developer agreement between the Northwest Independent School District and the City of Haslett for the acquisition of parcels 12D, and 26DE as required for the Haslett Parkway project. I would like to tell the council that this identical agreement is maybe half heard already, but is being heard tonight by the Board of Trustees at Northwest ISD. Is the identical agreement. And go ahead and tell them what we did on this.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, what has occurred in this agreement, there's only one change. This unravels from the right-of-way that we needed for the road, that impact fee issue. Again, council had acted and approved on an agreement that had come from NISD attorneys. They realized there was an error, if you will, in there by putting all those pieces together, which has held this up. That has been removed and it has been reviewed by legal. So again, this moves forward 12DE and parcel 26DE for the project, and again removes those impact fees. That is a separate issue to be discussed outside of the right of way.
Any questions on that, council? Any
This
discussion?
This Councilmember Robb, so does that conclude the easement acquisition for the road?
Yes, this concludes acquisition of right-of-way.
You have my congratulations, both you, the mayor, and Thad. Nice work.
Well, Thad did a good job. Thank you, Thad. All right, then. If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion, please.
Mayor Holsey,
Yes.
I move to approve the developer agreement, the amendment regarding the developer agreement between the Northwest Independent School District and the City of Hazlet for the acquisition of parcel 12, 12DE, and 26DE as required for the Hazlet Parkway project.
Motion is made to approve the developer agreement between Northwest Independent School District and the City of Hazlet for the acquisition of parcels 12, 12DE, and 26DE as required for the Hazlet Parkway project. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
There is a second. Roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow.
Aye.
Councilmember Nahara.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all
Council.
very much. Concludes a road well traveled. Item 8F, discuss, consider, and act on a development agreement between Triple T Farms Limited and the City of Hazlet for Laterra South Development. One is a presentation. All right, then. This development agreement has been set forth to the City of Hazlet. There has been review both by legal, planning, engineering, and fire marshal. In that, you have those reports in your document. And the developer seeks approval of that tonight. Would the developer like to speak to this issue during presentation? Do you have any presentation? If you have a few comments to make? Turn on the, yeah, there it is.
All the technology. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Corey Admire with Shoot Ventura, 9406 Biscayne Boulevard, Dallas, Texas, 75218. We appreciate the council's time. We have sent the draft development agreement prior to the last city council meeting. And we presented tonight, each of you, and I'm not sure if Councilmember Robb or Councilmember Clark are able to receive as well, but we did do some written responses to the staff report that we received Friday afternoon with some of the concerns raised by both legal, your fire chief, your engineering, your planning services folks. And so we would just like to take a minute to address any of those, or if there's anything specific that each of you would like to ask us as well. We have, we really feel, while it was a somewhat of a daunting staff report that we saw on Friday upon review, I think many of these items traditionally have been worked out with the city in both the plating process as well as through the community facilities agreement. And that's not really the stage that we're at here. So I just wanted to address that. One big item that was a big point of discussion with the PID subcommittee and the city itself was that the City of Hazlet is not interested in issuing additional PID bonds in the future. And that's why you don't see a number of the items that were referenced in Ms. McDonald's staff report, such as terms of the bonds, certain limitations that are very appropriate when there's an intent to issue debt. But unlike the original Laterra, which had some provisions from 2007, which Mayor Halsey remembers, that contemplated bonds from the very beginning. Since then, the City of Hazlet, with their public improvement districts, have what are called cash flow public improvement districts, where the developer has to construct, the city has to accept the improvements, and then the developer is reimbursed over time as that assessment revenue is collected. And just as a reminder, none of the city's general fund is ever at risk. It's just the developer is paid back over time from assessments as they are collected by the city. So that's why some of the items in Ms. McDonald's staff report comments were not included in the development agreement. Additionally, just as a reminder, many of the council have been involved in PID creation as well as the levy of the assessments, but all of these things take future council action, and Mr. Messer can speak up and correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't by contract require you to vote a certain way in the future, to consider something in the future. And so because of that, that was also why big picture, if the city so chooses to create a PID and would like to annex the property in for the tax base, then the council can decide at that time. But this is a very preliminary agreement. There was also some question as to specificity of what would be constructed. Just as a reminder, the PID statute has a very specific list of only certain improvements can be constructed under the law, and only improvements that specially benefit the property paying for those assessments can be financed. And so all of those things are things that in the past we have worked out with the city, with their financial advisor, the city's PID consultants, and otherwise to outline, drill down on costs, all of which requires specific exhibits, cost determinations from engineering. We work with the city's engineering staff, et cetera, and reviews. So that's why you don't see it at the stage of that agreement. So that's addressing the legal piece. Similarly, just to remind all in the development agreement, but for, and really the hot button issue is the density, which we'll get to, but the developer is agreeing to abide by all of the city's regulations and your existing ordinances, et cetera. We are just asking for specific approval of our concept plan and what you see attached to the development agreement. I know there may be questions as to how it is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. In the letters that were sent to the council prior, we did pull pages from your comprehensive plan that do allow for some variations, because our understanding is that the city of Hazlet is interested in communities that have a great open space, parks, et cetera. In exchange for that, there can be some variances, never to exceed a certain minimum or a certain maximum per acre density, which we have complied to. You know, ultimately, what is being presented today is an extension of a known development that you have within your city. We are just asking to expand that by about 158 lots. And so the building materials, et cetera, would all be consistent with what you already have in Laterra. So I can answer any specific questions, comments.
Ms. Admire, thank you very much.
Sure.
At this time at 7:51 p.m., I open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? I know Ms. Montgomery, you've got some items there.
Yes. You want to do the speakers first? And not the emails?
Why don't you go ahead and read the letters first?
Okay. First email that I have received is from Sean Boisel, 1261 Wisdom Way. Upon review of the proposed half-acre building requirement, many of the Laterra subdivision's current residents support the requirement. Considering the underdeveloped infrastructure, the developers planned 158 additional homes would only exacerbate that issue. The additional traffic flows will certainly increase delays along Blue Mound West Corridor and Avondale Haslett Road until the 170 project's completion. Additionally, and even more concerning, is Haslett Elementary has rezoned for the 2022-2023 school year, removing the Bridgeview community along 287 and now sending them to Curtis Elementary. A discussion with Northwest ISD is practical, as these additional homes could potentially push Haslett voters from other communities like Caraway to alternative educational sites. Second email is from Lauren Walter, 1263 Meadow Rose Drive. Documents have been shared with our current Laterra neighborhood. Unfortunately, our family will not be able to attend the scheduled meeting on March 21st. However, we would not be in favor of adding additional smaller lots to the Laterra community. As a family who's paid a premium lot fee for a larger sized lot, we would prefer for additional larger lots to be added to the community. There are plenty of options in Haslett that offer smaller lot sizes, such as Sendera Ranch and North Star, to name a couple. Third one is from Jason Mahashiro at 540 Logan's Landing. As you may have already heard, the developers dropped letters on our doors wanting us citizens of Haslett to be supportive of their project, of which I oppose. I am strongly opposed to the 158 homes they plan to cram into the small, approximately 29-30 acre stretch of land on the east side of John Day Road. This is in no way benefits us residents and future residents of Haslett with regards to property value, quality of life, and most importantly, the safety of our residents already living here. Many people cannot cross John Day Road as it is during the peak time. Like I stated above, they are trying to cram 158 homes in that field, and there seems to be no plans for additional parks, schools, or essential medical and emergency services to support the area. Not to mention the huge traffic and safety problems we have in the morning and afternoon just due to the elementary school traffic we currently have. These 158 homes are going to be of a lower quality of the homes that we are currently built in Haslett area. I have done the math based on the proposed math, and the average lot size is approximately 0.118 acres. If you look at the nearby areas of Fort Worth, particularly the D.R. Horton development, that is what this area will look like once construction is completed. I would support 0.3 to 0.5 acre lots, which would yield the developer in Haslett about 80 to 90 higher value, better quality homes in Haslett. Next one is from Rory Walter at 1263 Meadow Rose Drive. I am writing regarding the future Laterra South development on the corner of Blue Mount and John Day. I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, but wanted to voice my opinion. The proposal I have seen includes 158 lots with the following sizes: 50 by 120 feet, 75 by 135 feet, and 75 by 150 square feet. I am currently building a home in Laterra with First Texas Homes, and I oppose this proposal. My family and I chose this neighborhood specifically because of the larger lot sizes, and we would prefer not to see smaller lots going in. Ideally, we'd like 1/3 of an acre lots or larger in that space. Small lots will decrease property values for those of us who have already in the neighborhood and will change the overall look of our neighborhood. There are already multiple neighborhoods in Haslett with smaller lot sizes for those that would prefer that. Sendera Ranch, North Star, and the new development off 287, etc. Thank you for your time. And the next one is from Kathy Brandon at 213 Bain Road. I'm concerned that the developer for the Laterra South subdivision wants the city to make an exception to our ordinances and allow small lots for the new phase, which would impact future citizens as well as the vision of our city intended. I am against this and request it be denied, and here's why. I understand why the developer wants smaller lots and more houses. It all drives towards maximizing profit, which is what he's in business to do. He doesn't live in Haslett. His concern for profit overlooks the city's quality of life and the vision citizens held when the ordinances were created. That hasn't changed. We still want larger lots and the best for the city. You already know about lot sizes and their impact on density. You see this every day like I do. The high density neighborhoods and businesses that surround Haslett and their impact on traffic in this entire area. The developer already offers small lots with new homes close to a school and was granted an exception previously. Why can't the developer stick to the ordinance governing lot sizes for the new phase and keep half-acre lots in the plan for Laterra South? Buyers need to have flexibility and to have a choice for themselves. The Vines and Watercrest have some larger lots, and they were able to offer a choice. The larger lots cost more, but the subdivision offers variety. Choices are important. The same situation would exist for Laterra. They would lack the flexibility and the choice to select what the city already offers other citizens whose developers agreed with the city's vision on lot sizes. Why can't Laterra have flexibility and offer people a diversity of lot sizes? Why should future citizens be forced to buy the lowest common denominator when higher standards exist and may be more appropriate for them and their family? High-density small lots are already offered in Laterra near the school, so offering larger lots near the school is the variety that the developer should be offering. We have plenty of subdivisions in Haslett that offer high-density small lots. Larger lots is what is desired and needed. Please preserve the vision Haslett offers. Those were the emails that I received, and then the developer just handed me a few that signed documents from residents that said, please approve Laterra South concept plan. This is from, that's approving it, so Sergio Gasca at 429 Laterra Vista Drive. Jessica and Danny Gisbrecht at 452 Laterra Ranch Road. David and Camille Klutzy at 501 Laterra Vista Drive. And David and Kaylee Brett at 438 Prairie View Drive. Those are all I have in email form and form from the developer. The first speaker I have on my list is virtual, and it's Patricia and Jack Parker.
Are they online?
I am, sir. Thank you, Mayor Halsey and council members for letting me speak. My husband and I visited the site for Laterra South development recently. We noticed that existing gas wells were not shown on the concept plan, as was brought up in the city planning report. The picture of the pretty pond with the water feature on the concept plan appears to be a frack pond. A frack pond is for holding reclaimed water and chemicals from fracking existing wells to improve production. It is only meant to be temporarily holding pond until it's properly disposed of. These ponds need to be rigorously regulated or it can poison groundwater, pollute surface water, and threaten wildlife. If these wells are going to continue to be active and fracked, will this be disclosed to the new homeowners? How often does the operator physically check these well sites? If it is not an active fracked pond, was the water drained properly? Was the liner removed correctly so that sediment was not spilled to contaminate groundwater? If this is the case, then why are there still PVC pipes running from the wells into the pond? I ask that you please listen to your staff reports and that this agreement should not be approved until sufficient time is allowed to address these important and critical issues. Thank you.
Let me get your address, please.
Yes, ma'am. I'm in the Northland subdivision. Address is 219 Broadmoor Drive, Haslett, Texas, 76052.
Yeah, and Ms. Montgomery asked the other speakers if there are other speakers to identify themselves and their place of residency.
The next one to speak is Philip Scoville. Can you come up to the podium, please? Name and address.
Hello, my name is Philip Scoville. Can everyone hear me okay? Mayor, council, thank you. Regarding agenda item 8F is my opinion. It is my opinion that the council should not approve any lot sizes smaller than a half acre in Laterra South. I'd like to kind of amend that to 0.3 acres after listening to some of the other individuals. I speak for many homeowners in the community when I say we aren't happy with the builders cutting corners to maximize profits. The fact that home warranty requests have anywhere from 30 to 100 deficiencies speaks volumes to the integrity of these builders. I wanted to also add that these people can't even pick up their own trash. We clearly don't need more of that. It's clearly another attempt by the developer and builders to maximize profits without any consideration being given to the burdens that the residents, local business community, and government services will face for years after the builders have left. The new homes in Laterra South represent a 30% increase in the community size. Let's not forget the high density housing that the city of Fort Worth will be putting in on the opposite side of John Day Road. The 900 Fort Worth homes will be creating a 77% increase. The additional homes will create strain on our local elementary school, which is already at full capacity. It will additionally create strain on all surrounding schools. Does anyone really think that 107% increase in housing in the community would be anything short of chaos? Do we want our children's class size to increase to the point that it starts to diminish in educational value? The builder's proposed plan creates traffic nightmares on John Day and Blue Mound roads. Getting the 287 from John Day and Blue Mound Road is bad enough as it is. It will create additional staffing issues in our local law enforcement and emergency medical services. Can they handle a 30% increase? Has anyone conducted a law enforcement staffing study with the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department? Can the city of Hazlet afford additional staffing from the Sheriff's Department? I have no idea what the current contract is as far as Sheriff's Department staffing. But has that been a consideration that's taken into place? Clearly, the developer doesn't care about this. They give no consideration to that. The builders certainly don't care about it. The builders are too lazy to pick up their own trash. I highly doubt they've given any consideration to law enforcement or any other public infrastructure that we have to deal with. I'd also like to add that our local Walmart is already having logistical issues keeping grocery items on the shelves. The developer seems perfectly content with making money, but not assisting in the creation of additional life support infrastructure. What the developer and builders are proposing does nothing more than burden an already stressed local infrastructure. Please do what is best for the city of Hazlet and its residents, not what's best for the developer and its builders. Thanks for your time and consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I'd like to know the address of that last.
Yes, sir.
It's 525 Logan's Landing. The next one, she's in the chat. Her name is Stephanie. She has not given us her full name or her address yet. So Stephanie, when you begin, please give your full name and address.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Grace. I'm at 1406 Poppy Drive. I would like to oppose this Laterra South as far as the lot sizes are too small. We would like to maintain bigger lot sizes and avoid high density, mainly for the city of Hazlet, and we are already getting so congested with the traffic, and we would prefer we wait until infrastructure is built up and the roads are expanded to accommodate that many more people and homes. So we would like to oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another speaker?
No one that has signed up.
All right, very good. Yes, sir. You may speak, identify yourself and your address.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Joseph Robert Gonzalez II. My address is 459 Laterra Vista Drive. I live there. So to this motion that's being passed, however you want to call it, my wife and I fully plan to be 100% against it. When you look at more so than just traffic, the entrance, every single entrance to the Laterra community is a one-way lane, right? So that already is very hazardous in itself. Adding those homes, yes, it does burden traffic, but it does create a super high risk. Sight lines are not very visible going towards that way in John Day. It's an empty grass field. The grass gets high. Excuse me, let me check my notes. 0.5 acres is very considerate if you guys have decided on that. I know 0.3 was mentioned. But if 0.5 is going to be the standard, don't settle for less. It's counterproductive. And it does give potential for the future builders to say, hey, if they're going to give us a compromise, let's see how much more we can get. There's no EMS already built to sustain that. It's already dangerous, right? In the sense that if EMS is passing, I believe for now they have to cross the train tracks, if I'm not correct, right? So in case of an emergency, anything could happen. That does create a delay as well with getting people necessary care, necessary support. Growth needs to be maintained instead of just adding kind of lighter fluid to it just to build these homes. We're already building apartments off of 287. That growth is going to be exponential. To add smaller size lots is also going to be very exponential. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. You've already had your presentation. This is not a response type thing. We don't respond to it.
I still have no more in the
All right.
chat.
If there are no other speakers, then I will close the public hearing at 8:08 p.m. We'll go to discussion.
I had a question for the developer concerning the comment about the frac pond. Can someone respond to that?
Excuse me. I believe the frac ponds being referred to may be located on the southern end of Laterra. There are two ponds literally within yards of each other. I believe the frac pond that was referred to is on the southern end of Laterra. Originally, the original 400 and some odd acre tract. The one that is on the concept plan is not a frac pond.
One of the things I didn't do, and I wanted any of the departments that had reviewed this, do you have any comment, whether it's planning, legal, or fire marshal?
Yeah, I'd just like to make one quick comment, and I pulled the exhibit from the comprehensive plan regarding the half-acre lot and the net density, gross density, and there's two little exhibits in the comprehensive plan. The first one is showing what a half-acre lot subdivision would be, and it came up with a total number of lots. And then there's a second one using more open space, using smaller lots, is where you get the more variety of lots, but it ends up with exactly the same number of lots as if it was the half-acre lots. In fact, one of the statements that you find in it, it says, open space subdivisions, which are also known as conservative subdivisions, would allow for flexibility in lot size while maintaining a 2 dwelling unit per acre, which is the 20,000 square foot. And that's taken right from your comprehensive plan.
Very good. Any other departmental comments?
I'm happy to give you a few of my comments, Mayor and Council. Sure, I'm happy to give you some of my comments. Just kind of a general overall perspective. You know, we represent a lot of cities around the DFW area. I've been in negotiations with Developers Council on another city's development agreement that's going in front of their council tomorrow night. And so as I look through the staff's comments on the pages for the council to consider, I looked through them, and there were a lot of comments there that I believe need to be substantively addressed before the agreement would be ready for the council to consider and act on. So by example, I counted there were about 41 comments that need to be addressed before it should be ready for the council. Tomorrow night at the other council meeting, Developers Council and I have been in active negotiations for that development agreement. There's one legal comment left to remain to be cited. And so I just know that there are a lot of comments here that would need, from my perspective, a lot of time to really think about every aspect of what the comment really means and how to address it, what's best for the city and how to come to a win-win situation so the development potentially could move forward. So with the number of comments and the substance of some of them dealing with health and safety issues and development standards, I don't think that this agreement today is ready for council to act on it or to approve it. I don't recommend that you do that tonight. I think it needs more time and development and coordination among all the city's various departments and the developer and the developer's representatives. So I just think it's just not ready. The way I look at it and from the development agreements that we normally have been involved with and go and talk to council, if it was ready, I would tell you that. I just think you're a far distance apart at this point, and it doesn't mean you can't come together. I'm just saying tonight, not tonight. But I'm happy to address the other issues that you may have as well.
I'm sorry, Mayor, this is Councilman Rob. Was that the representative from the city attorney's office? I have no idea who was talking.
This is, y'all have not met Andy Messer, introduced him earlier, sorry. Andy Messer is one of the founding partners of our law firm, Messer, Fort, and McDonald.
So I have a question for Mr. Messer. How long do you think that would take to resolve this?
I think it would depend upon how active the negotiations are between the developer and the city's team. So it could be done, depending upon, again, how active they are. Like in some of the developments that we're involved in, we're having regular calls with the developer and their team and the city's team. Other ones, it's not that not that intense. So I think it would really depend upon how much time is put on it between the parties.
Councilman Rob, let me say this. It's difficult to put how long will it take. It depends on if agreements are made very specifically and talking through these things. So it would be almost impossible to say, oh, we could do this in 2 months or 5 months or 1 month. It's difficult. And you understand that. Please understand that.
Right. And, my whole reasoning for asking for this agenda item is because according to the applicant's attorney, this was presented to the city in December and then later again in February. So, and, we haven't seen anything or heard anything about it. So until the city attorney contacted the applicant's attorney contacted all the council members. And so that's why I asked to put it on the agenda so we could start having these conversations.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's very good. And I will correct that part. Mr. Hazelwood and I met in December. He asked me if I would support this. That was their, quote, first presentation of this. And I told him absolutely not. There's no way I could support this development. And then shortly after, I think after the Christmas break, I sent that to Mr. Schwanke. And I asked Mr. Schwanke, which we normally do, take the lead on these developments. And Mr. Schwanke responded to the developer with a question about net density. And they have yet to answer that question today. So I believe it was in around February 21st. I might have that date wrong, but mid to late February, Mr. Albertin submitted this to say, this is what we would like to submit formally. So we've attempted conversation, but there was no conversation. So I wanted to correct that, Councilman Rob, that make it appear that the developer would make it appear that it was submitted in December and nothing happened. That's not true. Anyway, I think that, did you have a comment, Fire Marshal?
I was just going to state my comments on the plan were based off the drawing. I did see just from the drawing a fire code violation or issue with the fire code. I shouldn't say violation, but issue that would have to be resolved in the long run, which then brought me into other issues that I would just need more information on as the process went on. And so just I couldn't make a determination based off of what I had.
All right, very good.
Does Councilmember Clark and Rob have a copy of this as well?
I don't know. This was,
No, they were delivered to us today, 5 minutes before the meeting.
so there's been no time. I haven't had opportunity to read it, and nor has anybody else.
I wanted to add a follow-up question, Mr. Swanky, because you mentioned the comprehensive plan. So this is always something that gets confusing for myself as well. So there could be 158 houses on this 97-acre tract, and they could all be half-acre lots. That would still fit. Is that correct? Versus the 2 dwelling per acre?
Well, it's hard to tell. You know, when you calculate the overall density, what you can do, you actually subtract out those areas like for wells, the ponds that are part of the wells and all that infrastructure. And then there's the remaining tract. And then you calculate how many half-acre lots that you can get on the remaining tract. That becomes your max density or max number of lots. And so when you get that max number of lots, you can arrange the lots in a different format, allowing more open space, but the cap's been set.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
sitting back and just doing a lot of listening, what's going on and getting this presented to us right beforehand, and not having a good chance to review it, and listening to our attorney here, I'd like to make the motion to table this development agreement until such time that our city and all the city staff and the developer could take note of all these issues, and actually work those issues to come to a better presentation to us and to our council. Again, I think the end goal here is to have a agreement that is both conducive to both the city and the developer. I don't think we're at that point, and that's why I'd like to table this until such time that the developer and the city meet and review these plans.
If instead of tabling, because if we table it, we have to vote to have it taken off the table. Should it be continued as well, so it's on every next agenda item with updates?
Excuse me, but a motion's been made. A motion's been made.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, you did make a motion. Oh, okay. The motion's been made to table this agreement until such time correct me if I get this wrong, that both the city and developer have had time to meet on these issues and come to a resolution, and staff can come back and better advise the council, but seeking an agreement that's both conducive to both the developer and the city. Did I get that correct?
That is correct.
Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. All right. I have a roll call vote.
Can we discuss it now? Go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Oh, you have a, I'm sorry. No, go ahead, Tanya. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. You were first.
Okay, my question just would be the difference between continuing and tabling, and what are the pros and cons of both of those actions? I don't know if that's for Mr. Messer, or if you could tell us.
A continuance regards outside of a courtroom is regard to a public hearing, not to an item here. not in approving plats or development agreements. A continuance applies to a public hearing in that if I have 300 people out there still speaking and we're at 2:00 in the morning, I can have a continuance of the public hearing and not have to repost the agenda if I hold it the following evening. That is a continuance. With regard to these items, you can correct me if I'm in error, but that's all the study and what I've done know about continuance. Anybody?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think those are generally correct principles, that you can continue a public hearing. You open it, you don't close it, it comes to the next meeting, and then you continue the public hearing, you close it at the next meeting. Tabling it usually is to a date certain or just until a certain event has come to pass.
So tabling it doesn't throw it away. It's just, we're going to table this, let the staff and the developer meet. They continue their discussions, and then at such time the staff advises that we're ready, we can bring it back. It doesn't throw anything away. So there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any other questions? I think Councilmember Clark, you had a question?
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Messer. So if by the current motion is to table it, so does that mean that, if I understand correctly, we then have to vote to take it off the table and put it back on a future agenda? Is that correct?
No, you don't have to vote to put it. You're going to say something. Go ahead. You don't have to vote to put it back on the table. I can bring it back to the agenda when the staff advises me that we're ready. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I believe so.
Councilman Rob, I saw that your mic was on. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I think that, and the answer to that, it would never be on the agenda again. We would never see it again. So I'm not in favor of tabling. I think we can continue an agenda item.
We
have many times in the past.
And a second on the floor, and we'll vote on it. Very good. Is there any more discussion, though, with regard to the item?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm still a little unclear. Oh, you go ahead.
I just want to say that based on the staff recommendation, the citizen participation, that we need to do a thorough review of this before we put it back on the agenda.
And I'm still unclear on the tabling and the continuing things. I also thought you had to vote to have something taken off the table. So what am I must be confused on something. So if you could.
Just question him. When I asked, I said until such time the developer and the city could bring it back. Well, again, my question then too is just like what was asked beforehand by Councilmember Rob on time wise, and the attorney already answered that we don't have a time until they could actually review it. So that's the reason, the best way to say until such time that review could be complete. I don't know if you'd want to amend it. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn and stuff like, but.
No, we can't. I mean, there's a motion and seconded.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to amend something, that would become after the primary motion before a second.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear on if we're making the right motion for a continuance versus a tabling. So if everybody is explaining to me that it's correct, we can take off any time, and that's fine. I just want to make sure that that's accurate.
Everything has been said. Is my understanding of how the procedure would work and how other cities do it.
All right, so the motion's been made and seconded to table until such time the staff and developer can meet on these issues and come to some resolution. And they would advise the council and notify the mayor, and we'll bring this back to the agenda. And that's been motioned and it's seconded, and that's what we'll be voting on here. You made the motion. Councilman, I'll take a vote here. Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Nahara.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morrow.
Aye.
I started calling you Mayor Pro Tem Clark. Councilmember Clark,
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you, council. I think you made a wise choice. All right, executive session. The city council reserves the right to adjourn into executive session during the course of the meeting to seek legal advice from its attorney regarding any item on the posted agenda as authorized by section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Additionally, pursuant to the provision of chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, city council may adjourn into executive session in accordance with authority contained in 9A is section 551071 Government Code consultation with attorney, pending or contemplated litigation settlement offer to seek advice from the city attorney, specifically potential utility relocation liability. And 9B is section 551072 Government Code, deliberations regarding real property, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on position of the governmental body in negotiations with a third person, specifically property acquisition for public facilities. So I close the open session at 8:29 p.m. I would suggest that we take a 10-minute break and reconvene in executive session at 8:40 p.m. Gives us 11 minutes. Do we have Councilmember Robb, Councilmember Clark online?
Yes.
Here's Councilmember Clark,
Hi, Mayor.
Councilmember Robb. All right. Okay, we will resume the open meeting of the March 21st, 2022 City Council meeting at 9:01 p.m. There is a quorum present. All members are present online as well as in the chambers. So item 10, consider and take any action resulting from executive session. There are none. Let's go to item 11, future agenda items. Council, does anyone have anything for a future agenda item next council meeting? Okay, there are none. Let's go to item 12, adjourn. May I have a motion?
Mayor Holsey, I move to adjourn.
Motion's made to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a second. Roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow. Councilmember Nahara.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Thank you, council. Have a good night. Meeting is ended at 9:02 p.m.